Hi everyone, welcome back to Introduction to English Literature. So today we continue our course. We're about to finish it, which is good but sad in the same way, in the same time. Today we continue with the Victorian literature. Last time we started with the Victorian age, Victorian literature. We studied three of the most important Victorian authors, novelists of all times. Um, Now, let me say this again because I feel sometimes it's not clear enough. We don't study everything, and we don't study every poet and every novelist. There are so many important novelists and poets that we did not study, but we try to select the most important ones. Now, this is why I ask you to read the book. Yes, whatever I don't say, do not um, enter in the exam. You will not be asked about in the exam, but it is important because it will make things easier in the next courses. Okay, so we don't study every poet and every author, and even the ones that we study, we don't study everything about them. This is important. We just take a few general points from here and there just to understand the context of every age and just to have a taste, just uh, a little bit of everything from here and there. Okay, I hope this is clear. So last time we studied three novelists, three Victorian novelists. Today we'll study three more Victorian novelists and two poets. Before we start, let me ask you this question because there is a great debate, a great argument about this. Are the writings of women and men different? So, when men write, is it different from when women write? Can you, when you read a text without, knowing the author, can you guess the gender from the writing, from the style, from the topics? Can you do this? Is this possible? And what do you mean when we say different? Because there is this guy, I'm not really sure about his name. I forgot his name, but he's a Nobel uh, winner. He got the Nobel Prize for literature. Uh, like he's a famous novelist and critic, and he said something that erupted so many like people started fighting about it. He said something few like so many years ago that it just takes him 10 seconds to read anything and then he will know if it is a man or a woman, something like this. And some people considered it anti-feminist because they thought or they understood that when he said different, he meant it's sillier or something, not as good, something like this. Okay. But other people say no, different does not mean better or worse. It just means different. So, how different are the writings of men and women? What do you think? Um, of course, you will have to read more to to have an answer. To read more for men and women. Um, but the importance of the question is it important for women to write about themselves? Does it make a difference when a woman writes about her own issues than when a man writes about her issues? You will study this in the feminism theory 2 years from now in the literary theory course um, because it is an important question. For centuries, as we studied, only men wrote, and they wrote about women sometimes, and they framed women in a certain way, right? That was not necessarily true. That was not necessarily honest most of the time. And then when women started writing about themselves, remember Afra Ben, they changed the scene. So like let me give you another example that might be even easier for us. Is it important for Palestinians to write about themselves, or it's the same if someone from Canada or from I don't know Brazil or Argentina or something somewhere around the world wrote about us. Like he would just visit here in Palestine for a week or something, or even a year, and then go back and write about us. And then it's the same. Is it the same? Can someone feel the Palestinian issue? Can someone feel our pain, our loss, our struggle when they even our victories when they're not from us, when they're not um, from within the struggle? I think it's quite different, right? It is quite different. So, are the writings of women and men different when we talk about nature? When we talk about, I don't know, sweets, food? I don't know. This can be debatable. But is it different when they write about the issues of the women? Definitely yes. Definitely yes. At least for me. So, what do you think? Okay, keep this in mind. Think about this. More and more, and keep this in your mind today, especially when we study the three Bronte sisters. We study the three Bronte sisters, three sisters, three novelists, and then we'll go to the Victorian poetry. We'll just take two of the most important ones: Alfred Lord Tennyson, and Matthew Arnold. Okay, there are so many other Victorian poets, including a woman, that we will not study. There are many women, poets, female poets, in the Victorian era. Most importantly, Elizabeth Browning and her husband. But we will not study any of them because we don't have time. But please at least read the parts, just two paragraphs about them in the book. Elizabeth Browning and Robert Browning, her husband, okay? At least to have just an idea, because you will study both of them. You will study Robert Browning, and you will study Elizabeth Browning in the Pucci course and in the Victorian course. Okay. So let's start with the three Bronte sisters: Charlotte, Emily, and Anne. Charlotte Bronte, Emily Bronte, and Anne Bronte. Three sisters, three novelists, all of them. Now, Charlotte is the older between them. This is Charlotte. This is her picture. Okay. And Charlotte's most successful novel was Jane Eyre. Jane Eyre, published in 1847. Now, we say that this is the most successful novel for Charlotte Bronte, and one of the most successful novels in English literature ever about a woman. Um, okay, so Jane Eyre is the name of the main character. She's she's a child, parentless. Parentless means doesn't have parents, orphan, poor, and has so many struggles through the she experiences so many struggles and difficulties through the novel. Now then she later meets Mr. Rochester. Who's Mr. Rochester? He's a guy again. Remember that uh, uh, we talked about this last time. Remember, a rich guy. He has money. He's in need of a wife. But Mr. Rochester is not. This is why they're different. The Bronte sisters, because it's more in a way realistic. Because now here, Mr. Rochester is not in a want of a wife because he has a wife, but he locks his wife in a room because she's mad. Okay, she now um uh saying that a woman is mad is not something uncommon, especially back then. Whatever a woman does, they'll consider her mad, and then they lock her and they won't allow her to talk to people, and then this might really drive her mad. Okay, so we have real problems. She's not aware about the wife, but then she gets aware so many problems when they are about to get married. Someone uh, uh, exposes this, so many difficulties, so many problems, that in a way sums up the problems that women face in that society, in the Victorian society, in the Victorian age. But there's something especially different here, because one of the most famous lines ever of the Victorian age is, uh, is at the last words in the novel, Jane says, "Reader." She's talking to us, the reader. She's engaging us in the text as if she's talking to the reader. We don't have this so many times. You don't have this frequently when you read novels, right? The Even if the characters talk to you, but they don't directly talk to you, right? But this is very direct. Reader, I married him. Uh, Now, this is where it gets different, really different. I married him. What does this mean? She is in control, right? I married him. Okay? It's not I got married. It's not like he married. No, I married him. Okay? So there's something here moving towards more freedom and more equality. Equality being equal, the same. Moving from this, remember at that age, women were not allowed to vote. Now, in the Victorian era, yes, all men had their rights to vote, right? If they were older than 21 years. But starting from just 1917 or something, women started. But back then, women did not have the right to vote. They were not equal. There wasn't equality. Um, but when she says, I married him, she means he's in control. She reached not equality, of course, but one step towards more equality. This is Charlotte Bronte. Okay, and this is a debatable question till this very day. Can women ask men to marry them? Can women be the one who initiates? This is a very debatable question till this very day. For me, it's not debatable. For me, it's pretty simple. Yes, of course. Every human, man or woman or man, has the right to choose, right? To experience whatever they think fits them the best. So this is Jane Eyre. She controls her life, so many problems, but the more problems she faces, she becomes more independent, which is different. Remember Pamela and the Clarissa from Richardson? This is very different. They are more in control here, and this is why we say that it's different when a man and a woman writes about women. Okay, so is it different when they write about birds? Is it different when they write about nature, about war? This is debatable. But when they write about women, it's definitely different because women understand themselves better. See how Richardson framed Pamela and the Clarissa as weak, as dependent, but here we have an independent, strong woman who chooses and is very strong when she says, "Reader, I married him." She's in control. Um, Here, the woman is independent of men. Independent of men. It doesn't mean isolated because, see, she got married. But when we see independent of men, it means that she can take decisions. She's an adult, right? She can take decision for herself, and a man can take decision for himself. And if they both agree, they can get married. If they didn't, they don't. And this applies to work, to social life, to everything. Okay. Um, Now, Emily Bronte is the second sister, and her most famous, most important novel is Wuthering Heights. This is a very important novel and very different again. See, these three sisters were like brilliant, amazing, very different novels for the first time that changed the novel forever, especially the novels about women. Okay. Now this novel is about passion. We have two passionate couple. We have a passionate couple, a man and a woman, Kathy and Heathcliff. But also, what makes it different again is the psychological uh, um, part, because this is an early psychological novel. What's a psychological novel? It's a novel that is interested about the thoughts, what's going on inside the mind of the characters, how they think, how they take decisions. We follow them, we follow the way they take decisions and the way they think throughout the novel. Okay, so in this novel, this is a very, very original novel. All the time we go back and forth in time. You know, we're not talking about now, about what's going on now, and suddenly we're talking about the past. We flashback, we go to the past, and then we go back. So back and forth in time, but also in and out the minds of the characters. So we see what's going on, we see the events, but we don't. Sometimes we also see how the characters think. So how they think and how they act. What's going on outside and what's going on inside. The inner conflicts. What's an inner conflict? The conflict inside the mind of the character. You know, we all have inner conflicts. We always think about things, how to act, how to do this, how to do that, right? So this is Wuthering Heights. We have Kathy and Heathcliff. They're very passionate, but they have a situationship. They have a difficulty in their relationship. Again, it's similar to her sister's novel, but in a different way. Because now the woman, Kathy, is married to Linton, but she's in love with, sorry, yeah, she's in love with Heathcliff. Now, see how this novel presents the new view of a woman's emotion. How women have emotions and how they express their emotions. Um, so because in the past, as we read, they were the objects. Always they were objectified. They were other objects. They don't express their emotions, right? Like remember Marlowe's "Come Live With Me and Be My Love, and let's all the pleasures prove." He keeps talking about his emotions, about what he's going to do. But even when John Donne tried to change this, it's still he who talks about his emotions, about his feelings, but in a more realistic way. But still, we don't really have the woman there. But now, let's see how Kathy reveals her feelings for Heathcliff. She's talking to the housekeeper. Her name is Nelly, and she compares her feelings to her husband and to Heathcliff. She says, my love for Linton is like the foliage, the papers, the leaves in the woods. You know, the woods, الغابات, okay? In the woods, or الغابة. My love for Linton is like the papers, the leaves in the woods. Time will change it. I'm well aware. As winter changes the trees. So time will change it just like the papers. My love for Heathcliff resembles the eternal rocks beneath, the rocks, الصخور. Huh? Okay. Resilience. Of course, a little delight, but necessary. Really. I am Heathcliff. He's always, always in my mind as my own being. Now, you might not like this because she's married, but she's in love with someone else. You might consider because this is wrong, this is cheating, and cheating is wrong. But this is a character. You can disagree with the character. But what's new here is not this moral issue because this is old. This is not new. Okay, even though it's debatable because it's not the same. Maybe she didn't want to marry him and someone forced her. But still, cheating is cheating. But this is not the question. Question is how she's talking about her feelings. She expresses her feelings. We always hear the guys talking about, right? All of us are guys. All of us are boys here in this course. We always hear our friends, the males, the boys, talking about their feelings, how they feel about this woman or that woman. Sometimes even in a not good way, sometimes, and other times very romantic. But it's strange when a woman, for people, it's strange when a woman talks about her feelings, expresses her emotions, right? Some people call it hype or you know, not good. You're a woman. You shouldn't be talking about this publicly. A man can, but a woman cannot. And this is for this very day still happening. Um, but here in Wuthering Heights, no, it was different because see how she's talking about her feelings. very publicly. She knows what she thinks about, and she's very uh, confident about it. She expresses her feelings in a novel that everyone read back then and to this very day. And she says, "My love." She's again in control. She's more in control. My love, my love. Okay, I am. She's talking about herself. She's the subject. She's not the object. And then see the last line here. He's always in my mind as my own being. He's my own. Okay, so she even owns him. So see the difference, the shift, how women were an object back then, but now they were the subject, they are the doers, they act, they express. Okay, so this is another step towards equality, another step towards equality with Wuthering Heights. Now, the last sister, the youngest of them, is Anne Bronte. Anne Bronte. She wrote uh, the most important one of her writings is the Tenant Wildfell Hall, which is again an unusual central female character. Uh, and again, like her sister's novels, it involves complex relations and problems. Now, the three Bronte sisters faced these problems in their novels with unusual courage. And this is why, again, I ask the very first question in this lecture. Is it different when a woman writes about her own struggle? Yes, because we had struggles for women in previous novels, in previous writings. But the response is different. The characters, the women characters are different here. They are courageous, right? Um, and there's directness. There's there's this clear direct independence in their characters, and this is something new, and this is something important that encouraged so many other women and female authors. Now, um, the three Brontes together, the three sisters, along with other writers, starting with Afra Penn, but especially with the three Bronte sisters, they changed the way the novel could present women characters. What was before the three Bronte sisters uh, is different from what came after that, because now women characters are no longer idealistic. They're more realistic, you know? They have feelings. They can cheat sometimes. They are not angels, but they are strong. They can take decisions at the same time. So they're no longer this idealized image of the woman as an object, as always, decent and doesn't do anything. She always uh, reacts maybe, but she's never the doer of the action. But here it was changed forever. Now this is enough for the novels, the Victorian novel. Maybe you can read more about at least read a book, read our book, what our book says. So few pages. It won't take you a lot to read it. Just take notes. Maybe you can read a few of these novels as well. Now let's move to the poetry. Again, we'll just take two poets, even though, as I mentioned at the beginning of the lecture, I don't want to repeat myself. There are so many other poets that we should study, that we should talk about, but we don't have time. We don't have time. Okay, so starting with Lord Alfred Tennyson. This man is considered by so many critics the most important poet of the time. Tennyson. His poetry generally was sad. Okay, and this is why it was quite different. But let's go back and remember what was before the Victorian poetry. We had the Romantic poetry, and the Romantic poetry, as we said before, started and ended with the same guy, with the same poet, Wordsworth. He was the first Romantic poet, if we don't consider Blake, because he was a pre-Romantic guy, and he was the last one because he died, I guess, in 1950 or something. Now Tennyson started writing at the time of the romantic poetry, at the last days, at the last years of the romantic poetry, and he was very different. Tennyson and all the Victorian guys, they were very different from the. Um, I'm sorry about the noise. I'm not sure what's going on over there. He was very different from the romantic poets, from Wordsworth. You know, Wordsworth was an escapist, and generally Wordsworth, Coleridge, all of them, they in a way worshipped nature. Nature was, you know, uh, their in a way their god or something. Um, so for Tennyson, nature is not simply an object of beauty. Nature can be cruel. Nature can be bad. He says this in his elegy: nature red in tooth and claw. Nature red. You know, nature is like, when we see this in nature a lot, when animals attack each other and eat each other, and then the tooth would be full of blood, and they won't even clean it. It would just, this is nature. Nature is sometimes very cruel. It's not always beautiful. Yeah, sometimes it's beautiful, but most of the time it's cruel. And the survival is for the fittest, the strongest, the fittest can survive, the others won't. And this reminds us of The Origin of Species by Charles Darwin. Um, in a way, because it's in a way talks about the same mentality, or asks the same questions. There's the same debate. So there's a more realistic vision of nature. Yes, it can be beautiful, but generally it is dangerous. It's full of sad things, things that are not necessarily equal, not necessarily just, not necessarily good. Okay. Now his famous poem, very long one, In Memoriam, AHH. Now, AHH are the initials of his friend who died, and this is an elegy. Remember what's an elegy? This is an elegy to a friend. AHH are the initials in memoriam. Okay. Now, again, of course, the poem's tone of loss is of loss and regret. There's a lot of loss and regret, and this is why it reached a very wide audience. Again, poetry generally, when it is sad, when it is personal, it reaches more people and more people. Okay, I hope my voice is clear because there's noise in the street. I'm not sure if it can reach you or not, but I hope not. Okay. And this is why I hate recording at day. I always record at night because night is the best. Now, this poem especially became the Queen Victoria's favorite poem because after her husband died, again, I remember I mentioned this before last time. She spent her last 30 years a widow, single, because her husband, Prince, what's his name, Philip or something, died. Okay, and since then, this poem became her favorite because it expresses the loss that everyone feels when they lose someone dear to them. Um, and generally, Tennyson is considered a poet of sadness and loss, mainly because of this poem. But he was not always talking about sadness. Okay, because we have this another poem, Ulysses, where he wrote a lot in dramatic monologue. What's a dramatic monologue? It's when we use a speaking voice, a persona sometimes called, which shows the thoughts of the persona, not necessarily, because we have to differentiate here, not necessarily the author, not necessarily the author. Sometimes it's the persona, the speaker in the poem is not the author, not the poet. It's just a character. He invents a character and the character speaks. So this is why I am a poet, I am male, but I can write a poem where the persona is a woman, right? This happens. This happens a lot. Like the songs we know. Sometimes the song is written by a man, and then the singer is a woman talking about a woman's life, right? So this happens even in to this. Always, it always happens. So the persona is different from the poet. Now, a dramatic monologue is when this speaking voice shows his or her thoughts and a full idea of the character is known from these words. So we get to know this character, we get to know more about this character from the words that he or she says in the poem. Okay. Tennyson's speakers in his monologues include Ulysses. Now, who's Ulysses? He's the hero from Homer. We talked about Homer before. He's a Greek dramatist. Odyssey. The Odyssey is maybe the most known play ever, epic. Sorry. So Ulysses speaks in old age about the need to go on and find new ambitions. So it's not always sadness. Sometimes there is hope, or at least there is a call for change, for finding the new in the future. He says, "Tis not what's tis tis tis. It's the contraction of it is. It is becomes tis. So we reduce one syllable. Tis not too late to seek a newer world. It is not too late to seek a newer world." Now, Tennyson became the national poet who composed poetry on national occasions. What's a national poet? Sometimes called laureate, a poet laureate. Is the national poet. So whenever there's, the Independence Day, Eid al-Istiqlal, or the last few months ago, it happened in America in the inauguration of Joe Biden when he became the president of the U.S. They made a very big celebration, and then there was this poet uh, re- uh, uh, who said something, she read uh, some some poetry in the celebration. So this is the national poet, sometimes called again uh, laureate. uh, Whenever there's a celebration, there is an occasion, national occasions, they read poetry. Okay, they write poetry and then they recite it. Now, Tennyson was also known, became famous also because of his praise of the heroes. There's not to reason why in war, when there's a war, there's not to reason why, there is but to do or die. This is war. So in a way, he gives uh, this heroic idea of the soldiers, okay, who accept dying for their country. There is not to reason why when there is war, to reason why, to think, to analyze, to no, it's just to do or die. To do or die. Okay, and in his later year, his poetry continued to be even more sad. Um, but in generally, again, it's not only sadness. There's sadness, but there's history. There's also dramatic effect. Again, as in Ulysses. Now, this poem by him, it's not in your book. I know, The Eagle. It's not in the book, but I think we have to do this because it is important and because you will read it and study it um, in the poetry course. Okay. Uh, Now the eagle is what's an eagle? Can you know what's an eagle? An eagle is النسر الصقر, the falcon, the eagle. Google the eagle because there are differences between albaz and الصقر and النسر. There are differences. I'm not really well aware of the differences between them. I'm not a fan of these animals, of these birds. But you can Google, write the eagle on Google Images and see the eagle, the image of the eagle. Uh, or give me a minute to find you a picture of the eagle. Now this is the eagle. Can you see this is the eagle? Can you see how big the eagle is? How not sure if we can say beautiful because everything in nature we tend to call beautiful, but sometimes it's really scary. But it is magnificent. Remember the tiger? This is the eagle. It is magnificent. See the eagle and see here even more of the eagle uh, because this is nature, red in tooth and claw. Uh, very in Arabic it's called al-uqab. I just checked it. Al-uqab. It's close to al-baz, but not baz, not saqir. Al-uqab. This is the eagle. Okay. Now let's read what our poet said about the eagle. He talking about the eagle, or are we talking about Mahmoud or David? He's giving he's this is called personification because he's giving a human uh, touch to an animal, to a bird. He clasped the crag with the crooked hands, you know, crooked hands, close to the sun in lonely lands, ringed with the azure world he stands. So close to the sun in the sky in lonely, what's lonely lands? So to the sun in lonely lands is are the lonely lands the sky or it's the lonely lands in the desert? Not really sure. It depends on how you read it. Ringed from ring, but you know, reducing one syllable, ringed, ringed with the azure world. What's the azure world? You know, they even call the Italian national team Al Azzurri. I guess even in Arabic, it's sometimes called Al Azzurri. What's the azure? The azure is from blue. You know, the azure world. So what's the azure world? I don't want to translate the text for you, but it is important because it is there's a beautiful image here. Ringed, okay, so close to the sun, ringed with the azure world. So the blue world. What's the blue world? It's the sky, right? Heaven. The blue world, the azure world. He stands. So he stands. The wrinkled sea beneath him crawls. He watches from his mountain walls, and like a thunderbolt, he falls. Okay. So see, at the very first, there's some kind of uh, there's a lot to say about this poem. I love it. Like you can analyze it in like I don't know, spend 3 4 hours talking about this poem and analyzing it. You'll see more of this in the poetic course. But I'll tell you something, just one thing. Can you see how similar the two stanzas are? Can you see the third lines in the third lines in each stanza? So ringed with the azure world, comma, he stands. And then and the second stanza, and like a thunderbolt, he falls, but there is no comma, even though it's the same structure. Why isn't there a comma? Is it intended? I think it is. It's not just a typo. Because ringed with the azure world, he stands. There is, you know, he's standing. There is this kind of, you know, he's waiting. He's standing. But in the second stanza, you know, it's a thunderbolt. He's like a thunder, very fast, right? A thunderbolt, he falls abruptly, you know? No waiting, no standing, just just very fast, abruptly he falls like a thunderbolt. Again, this is the eagle. Now moving to Matthew Arnold. Moving to Matthew Arnold, the last poet we'll discuss today, and the last poet we'll discuss in the Victorian era. This is his picture. I didn't know what's with this beard style. It was kind of the fashion back then. Um, we'll just talk about Dover Beach. Now there are a few other poets who are just as important as Arnold, but because Dover Beach is for many critics considered the most important single poem ever in the Victorian era. So Dover Beach is a short poem, not very short. It's 37 lines, but even the lines are short. So it is a short poem about the crisis of belief. Because this time, was a time of people started to lose their faith more and more in the Victorian era, back in the 19th century. So he talks to us, he tells us about this change in people's faith. Now, in Dover Beach, Arnold caught the mood of the period. Everything about the period is, in a way, included in the poem here and there. And again, see how what we did just in a bit in the in the sorry, in the eagle. Even the comma is important. It's not haphazard, especially in poetry. It's just like the eagle. It's just a six-line poem. So when you write a poem of 6 lines, every letter, every space makes a difference. And again, in poetry, if something is there, it's there for a reason. If it's not there, it's not there also for a reason. There's a reason. So when a comma is there, it's there for a reason, to just to pause. But then it's not there in the second stanza because it's very fast, very abrupt, very sudden. So the Dover Beach talks about the mood of the period, quote the mood of the period, and this is why people, some critics and readers, consider it the most important one ever. Now, the poet looks over the English Channel from Dover. Now, if you are familiar with geography, I am not very good in geography, but sometimes it is important. I don't really like geography, but sometimes you have to understand the geography to understand uh, everything else. It is very important. Don't be like me. Uh, get try to understand geography more. Okay, so if there's this channel between English and France, and he's standing from the Dover, looking over the English Channel, and he sees the calm of the seas. The calm. The sea is calm, is quiet. But he thinks, then he remember how this calmness hides the struggles and the changes that affect everyone. Because yes, the sea can be calm, but in within, it's not that calm. There's a crisis. There is difficulty. Okay, and this is why even he's talking about the calm beach, the calm sea. Sorry, Dover Beach is pessimistic, and it is it's a poem that starts a pessimistic Victorian writing. Pessimistic, which is the opposite of optimistic. We talked about this last time. At the end, there's this call that we can smell in a way that we can notice. There's this call for love and honesty. So there's this thread of hope somewhere in the poem, but generally it's pessimistic. Let's read something from the poem. In your book, you have 4 lines out of these 6. I added the missing two. Oh love, let us be true to one another, for the world which seems to lie before us like a land of dreams, so various, so beautiful, so new, hath really neither joy nor love nor light, nor certitude nor peace, nor help for pain. So he's talking to love. Oh, love, let us be true. So there's call for love, and true means honest. So love and honesty, and also there's a call for unity. Oh, love, let us be true. Let us, all of us, the whole nation, let us be true to one another. Honest with each other. For the world, which seems to lie before us like a land of dreams, because the world looks like a land of dreams and it looks beautiful. It's like this sea, very calm, very very quiet. So this world looks like a land of dreams. Everybody's dreaming of doing something or becoming something. So various, so beautiful, so new. But actually, this world, for the world hath, hath. Why is he saying hath? This is in the Victorian era. People started to say has. Why is he saying hath? Hath. Maybe because he's saying this world has always been. This is why he uses hath to bring us to remember, to remind us of the past. Hath really neither, or neither, both are correct, hath really neither joy nor love. See how many times he uses negative words: neither, nor. Neither joy, there's no joy, nor love, there's no love, nor light, there's no light. Even this world is dark. Nor certitude, there's no certitude, nor peace, there's no peace, nor help for pain. This world is horrible, and this is why it's very pessimistic. And even see in the second line, to one another for the world which seems to lie before us like a land of dreams. It seems to lie before us like a land of, it looks as if it is a land of dreams, but it's not. It seems like this. Seems here, there's even from the word seems we can sense this sense, we can notice this sense of uncertainty. It seems like this, but it is not. It looks as if it is a land of dreams, but it actually isn't. There's no joy, no love, no light, no certitude, no peace, no help. This is a horrible world. Very dark, very pessimistic. So that's it for the Victorian poetry. That's it for the Victorian literature. Next time is the last lecture of our course. I'll post it this Wednesday, tomorrow, or this Thursday. But we will have the next week a live session on Zoom for everyone. We'll talk a lot. I know that I neglected you for a bit in the past couple of weeks. It's been a difficult time for me. I hope you understand this. But I promise you that I'll record the last lecture tomorrow, this Wednesday or Thursday. I'll post it for you, and then we will have a live session on Zoom next week, so we can discuss whatever you want to discuss, answer all the questions, talk about your presentations, about this course, about everything, and maybe more. Okay, whatever you want for discussion today, I'm asking you regarding that we studied the Romantics, and we said we noticed how the Victorians read it differently. So, which concept of nature do you find best? Do you like the most? Do you find which one is your favorite? The Romantics, Wordsworth's, the Daffodils, or Tennyson's, talking about the eagle, talking about nature, red, red, from blood, more realistic in a way, but that one was more beautiful. Okay, so which concept of nature do you find best, the Romantics or Tennyson's, and why? Thank you very much, everyone, and I'm really sorry if there was noise so in this lecture. I'm really really sorry. um Inshallah, next time I'll record at night. Okay. See you next time, inshallah, next week in the live in the live session. Okay. Goodbye.